I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and a couple of days ago I posted a video about the iPhone 5 or the iPhone 6, whatever you want to call it. We talked about the hardware improvements that I'd like to see. Well, I guess we didn't talk about it. It was more me talking on camera to you on YouTube. But we talked about the hardware stuff. Now it's time to talk about the software changes that I'd like to see in iOS 6, or the next version of iOS, which presumably will be coming on the next iPhone. There's a couple of changes, and we're going to start right now. One, the biggest thing for me, given the fact that I email as much as I do, several hundred emails a day, there has got to be a more robust email solution on the next version of iOS. I rely on search. I have 46,000 emails in my inbox, so oftentimes I'll rely on a search for, I'll search for John Doe email from 9 months ago, and so on Android it's very simple, and this is one thing I love about Android and the Gmail integration. With Android, iOS has got to come up with a better solution because their search is awful when it comes to email. In terms of the overall look and feel and the layout of email, I feel like it's pretty decent. What they need to do is come up with a better search option, at least for exchange-based accounts, which is how I have all of my Google Apps accounts set up on my iPhone. Huge improvement here. I cannot underscore this enough. Constant frustration on iOS, and that's why if I'm carrying the iPhone 4S as a personal device, I'm often carrying an Android device in the background just for email functionality and just for that support when I need to search emails, because I use that feature, I'd say 5 to 10 times on a given day. Two, better widgets, or at least addition of widgets to some of the home screens, and I'm not quite sure how they would take this approach. What I would suggest, we see the widgets, for example, the weather widget and the stock widget on the notification shade. What I would like to see is those same widgets on perhaps a dedicated page. This is something I think Apple would do because it's not integrated, in with the applications. It's not making it too Android-like. What would be nice is, how you scroll to see your applications and you scroll all the way to the left to see the search bar with the keyboard. What if you scrolled over one more time and you had a page of like 4 or 5 widgets of your choosing? Let's say you had 15 or 20 to choose from out of the box. Apple widgets like Messages, Phone, stocks and calendar, things like that, and you could choose which 4 or 5 you wanted on your home screen, and you could put those on a dedicated panel where you could just scroll over and see them. That gives you some widget functionality without kind of interfering too much with the overall design of iOS. That's perhaps an angle they could take. I would just love to see more widget support outside of what's in the actual notification shade. Third, perhaps another row of applications below, 5 rows instead of 4, just below, between that 4th row and then between the dock. Additionally, I'd love to see the ability to perhaps make the icon smaller, fit 5 on a row or something. That way, where you could have more options to add space on the application screens and on the dock as well. So you could have 5, and this possibly may be me just coming from the Samsung Galaxy Note, but I love the fact that I can set 4 independent, or actually it would be 5 on the iPhone, but 5 independent applications that I use the most as opposed to the typical 4 that we have right now. That's something I'd like to see. And then next, third, actually that'd be 4th, this one kind of comes with a caveat that it's contingent on the other ones. Keep the fluidity, Apple. Keep the fluidity of iPhone and iOS, because to me, when I look at the iPhone, that's my favorite feature of the iPhone. The fact that it's constantly fluid, you get a consistent performance every single time. When you click the browser, it takes the same amount of time every time to open up the browser. It's not 1 second, 1 minute, and then the next minute it's 5 seconds. It's constant and very, very fluid, and that's something that's kind of sold iOS in comparison to Windows Phone, in comparison to BlackBerry, in comparison to Android, the fluidity. So even with these widget upgrades, things like that, if you do bring them in, don't mess with the fluidity, Apple. That's a huge thing. Do not mess with the fluidity. Another thing I'd like to see at number 5 is the ability to have more customization with wallpapers and with ringtones, because let's be honest, it's 2012. We all like our customized ringtones. We like to make changes to our devices. Ringtone support, perhaps ringtone support outside of iTunes. That's a long stretch. I know Apple's probably not going to do that, but that's something I'd like to see. And then of course, wallpapers. We've got our wallpaper stuff where you can add wallpapers behind the applications, and of course you can add wallpapers on the lock screen as well. I'd like to see more customization there, where you can do perhaps something like a moving wallpaper, something like that. Some differences in comparison to what we have right now. Just something to make the device more that individual person, as opposed to making it similar to everybody else's iPhones. Customization is key. It's 2012, and we talked a lot. We reviewed a lot of devices. We've definitely talked a lot, but we reviewed a lot of devices, and things like the 1X, the 1S, Samsung's devices, the Galaxy Note. We're seeing a lot of customization. Customization seems to be the theme of late 2011, early 2012, and my hope is that the next version of iOS will have those same features. Let me know what you want to see in the next build of iOS, presumably iOS 6, in the YouTube comments below, on Facebook at facebook.com/phonedog, on Twitter at phonedog_Aaron, and on Google Plus at gplus.to/phonedog. I'd love to hear from you about your loves, your hates, what you want to see, what you think is going to stay the same. Hit me up with your commentary at any of those links, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching. As always, we'll see you next time, and have a great Memorial Day weekend.